Hi, Steve here from Big Bore Guns. I appreciate you joining me again today. Today we're going to take a look at this handgun. I just purchased this last week. I bought it at Sportsman's. It's brand new. It's a Taurus Tracker 44 with a 2.5-inch barrel. Now there's a couple reasons I bought this gun. I'll go through those reasons just a little bit later in the video. But first let's take a closer look. Up front, I've never bought a Taurus before. Actually, I've only bought pretty expensive revolvers, and this was super affordable. This was under $500, which is very reasonable for this high of a caliber gun. Well, let's take a quick look at it before we go any further. Safety check. It's unloaded. And right away, you know, it does feel good in the hands. I actually, this week, bought some Hogue grips, and I put them on this weekend. I knew I wouldn't like the Taurus grips. I just didn't like the way that they felt. So I put these new grips on here. Very inexpensive upgrade. And when you look at the gun at first, you know, and you compare it to Smith & Wesson, well, you know, remember this is under $500, so it's a third the cost of my 460 Magnum. And there are some apparent differences right away. The feel, of course, feels really nice. I mean, it does feel good in the hands. Very well balanced. I really like the short barrel. The sights. These fiber optic sights really pop. The guy in the store said, wow, this is really good sights. I've never seen that good of sights in a Taurus before. But I was very impressed with the sights. It's really easy to get a sight picture right away. Put it down this groove and you can see the target real quickly. So I believe target acquisition is going to be really good. I haven't fired it for sure, so I have no idea how this fires. But just taking a look at that, it looks really nice. The first thing I noticed, you know, difference from the Smith & Wesson is just really the fit and finish. You know, being a less expensive gun, you kind of expect that, but you can tell right away, like right here on the frame where these two pieces meet. When you rub your hand over that, obviously there's a little bit of rise over it. It's not perfectly fit. You know, you can feel the differences. There's a few rough spots on the finish. Remember, I bought this brand new. Matter of fact, any gun I review, I'll review brand new. I don't think it's really good to go out and buy a used gun, then use it for a review, because that gun may have been through a lot or had other problems you're not aware of. So I always buy new when I'm reviewing a gun. And so for a new gun, you know, the finish is not bad. Again, it's stainless steel. It's pretty clean. The surface is pretty smooth. But, of course, there are some issues with where the parts meet together, which I've heard that on other Tauruses from other people. The other thing I noticed is that the finish. So if you take a look down the barrel here, the crown very recessed in here. And that's going to help some, I believe, with the recoil. But the thing is, I don't know if you can even see it, but on the edge here, right here on the edge, there's some little burrs there, and it's kind of sharp. I mean, when you rub your finger around that crown inside there, it's not smooth. Now, of course, the rifling is inset, so this probably isn't going to make a big difference on the accuracy of the gun, but I will clean it up just so it's smoother. It feels pretty good too. The cylinder turns very easily, snaps in. It's pretty tight. I mean, very little play. It's okay. Again, I haven't shot it, so I'm not sure how that's going to affect it, but it's pretty tight. The trigger pull, again, it's empty, and it is okay to dry fire these a little bit. I wouldn't overdo it with it, but single action feels kind of heavy to me. Double action feels a little bit heavy too. I would expect that, you know, not to have a Smith & Wesson's type trigger on it. I can go ahead. I have a trigger gauge here. Let's go ahead and see what the weight of that trigger is. Actually, let's take a look at the weight of this gun too. So on the scale here, you can see it's 1 pound, 15.6 ounces. Well, it's almost 2 pounds in weight. That is really light for a 44 Magnum. If you take a look at that and compare that to, let's say, my 460 Smith & Wesson Magnum with a 5-inch barrel, coming in at almost 4 pounds. I mean, quite a bit of difference in weight, isn't there? Almost double the weight this 460 is over that 44 Magnum. Let's keep this out here. We'll do a quick trigger pull test here. So, pull out this gauge here. Hopefully you can see this. Okay, so let's do the first one here. Double action. 9.11 pounds. Let's see if you can see that here. All right, let's do it again here. $9.3 pounds. £9.13. So, you know, let's just say just a little over 9 pounds. Let's try single action, see what that is. £5.9. £5.56. If I can see that okay. £5.7. So we're looking about, you know, a little over 5 pounds, 5 pounds, 7 ounces on single action and a little over 9 pounds on double action. It is pretty tight. Again, besides that, it does feel good. I mean, it feels really smooth. Breaks nicely. Double action smooth. Turns smoothly. No grit at all. It feels good. Cylinder locks up tight when it's cocked. I mean, remember, this is under $500. That's pretty good for a $500 gun. You can take a look at it a little bit closer too. Take a look at this finish on it. Hopefully you can see that. It might be a little out of focus. Hoping you can see the end of this barrel. I'd really like you to see kind of where that burring's at. Okay, let's do a quick comparison. I'm going to take the 460 now and do a real quick check. So the 460, of course, Smith & Wesson, very different here. There's hardly any noticeable difference in the transition between the different pieces of metal here. Let's do a quick check on the trigger on this one. $10.1. 9.13. 10.3. Okay, let's try double action. I think this is where you're going to see it shine. $3.14. $3.14 again. And see, it's got a really light trigger. I mean, now the double action trigger pull, of course, is a little bit stiffer than on the Taurus, but the single action is super crisp, you know. So it's probably like a third less the weight on the trigger pull. It is super smooth. So the double action trigger pull on the 460, although it's higher, it's designed that way, and it's important because there's a really good chance for an inexperienced shooter not knowing how to shoot this big of a gun for it to flip up in their hands and accidentally pull the trigger a second time. So that heavy double action trigger pull would help mitigate that issue. I don't know if it's such an issue with this Taurus or not because I haven't shot it yet. I will tell you, I could carry this all day long. It is super light. This little pancake holster fits on your side. Picked it up on Amazon. Really inexpensive. Very, very comfortable to hold. very comfortable to carry. I mean, you almost don't notice it's there at this weight compared to this on your hip. I mean, it's still carryable. I mean, this holster is nice. It's leather. You can carry this on your hip because it's the 5-inch barrel one. It does work, but it is a lot heavier and a lot more noticeable. And carrying it all day long, your pants might start dragging towards the end of the day. So why did I buy this gun? Well, first off, I wanted to see, is it worth it? Is it worth this under $500 price point for this particular gun? And I don't know the answer to that yet. I'll determine that once I shoot it. I don't know if the sights are going to be good. I don't know how it's going to recoil. I really have no idea on that. But I also wanted to be able to compare it with the 460, because a lot of things you hear online are that the 44 Magnum recoil can be a lot worse than the 460, or the opposite is that the 460 is unmanageable, where a 44 caliber is very manageable. Well, this gun's not ported. I intentionally bought one that was not ported. This also does not have a long barrel. I intentionally wanted a snub nose. I want to see how much recoil I can get out of a small lightweight gun and compare that to the 460. I think probably, I've shot some 44s in the past, nothing this small and light, but typically there's more snap in it, so it's a different type of recoil. But we'll take a look at that. We'll also take a look at the damage this does when it hits a target and compare the two and see what the difference is. I'm really looking forward to shooting this gun and carrying it some and just seeing how well it performs. Some people might say, 44 Magnum out of a 2.5-inch barrel, you're not going to get much velocity. We can check that too when we go out to shoot it. But, I think this could be effective at close range. You go to somewhere like Alaska where you got grizzly bears. This would be small, easy to carry on your hip, and it could be the difference between life and death or being attacked by a grizzly. I think it would work pretty well. You look at the Ruger Alaskan, which, wow, it's a lot heavier gun, probably much better built. I've never held one, but there's a lot of praise given for that. And so this same caliber, smaller, lighter, I think it could be effective if you're on a budget in that type of a situation. So the next video, we'll go through part 2. We'll go through shooting this gun, comparison, take a look at the velocity, we'll see what kind of damage it does to some cactus coolers and watermelons, and see, what the big difference is in recoil, which was my main thing I was looking at. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Click the subscribe link below, and when that second video comes out this next week, you'll be the first to know. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great week this week.